Hey guys, what's going on? So I have compiled all 4 parts of What If Anakin Never Turned to the Dark Side, so you can watch it all through at once, and if you haven't watched it already, you can watch through it now without having to go from video to video and all that. And the goal by putting them all together was kind of for it to be like a mini movie almost, so you can really get immersed and captured in the story and all that. So it's meant to be like a mini movie almost, and that was sort of the goal with doing it. But for everyone who's been watching them part by part as they've been coming out each week or so, thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. I'm working on the start of the next fanfiction now. I've just finished writing it, so it should be out within the next 2 to 3 days. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, you'll see when it comes out, and I hope you guys really enjoy the next fanfiction I've got planned. But before we get into the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it, and make sure to stay tuned for all the upcoming videos I'm going to be bringing out. I've got lots of Star Wars news, Star Wars lore videos, Star Wars fan fictions and what ifs, and I can't wait for you to see it all, and I've got all that good stuff planned for the future. But without further ado, we'll get straight into the video. Make sure to get your snacks, get your drinks, and this is my version of What If Anakin Never Turned to the Dark Side.
We begin in the Jedi High Council chamber with Anakin sat alone in one of the many chairs outlining the circular room, with nothing but his thoughts, thousands of thoughts flying through his head every second, thinking about what has just happened, trying to process what to do next, and what to make of the situation, knowing that right now Mace Windu and the other Jedi Masters are heading to Palpatine's office to arrest the uncovered Sith Lord. All these things going through Anakin's head with no resolution. The sun slowly setting on the horizon, leaving a slight glow of orange throughout the room. Anakin, with both a worried and angered look, stands up and walks towards the window of the chamber, looking out into Coruscant, towards Padme's home. Padme looking back. Although they cannot see each other, something stronger is in play. They can feel each other's pain, each other's worry. Anakin looks into the distance, his thoughts compiling, about to turn away to do what he thinks is the only way to save Padme. He hears a voice.
"Hello, young one."
A voice familiar, yet so unrecognizable to Anakin. He turns around to see Qui-Gon Jinn in the form of a Force ghost. Anakin is shocked at who is standing in front of him.
"Qui-Gon?"
Anakin says in a weary voice. Qui-Gon replying,
"A fine Jedi you have become, but you cannot be misled by the Chancellor, or the Jedi Council, the light or the dark."
Qui-Gon continues to speak, reassuring and explaining in a very vague yet useful way. Anakin with so many questions, but stands, not saying a word, instead listening to Qui-Gon in awe of the Force ghost in front of him. Within only these few moments, Qui-Gon manages to connect with Anakin. Anakin exclaims, "But what about Padme?" Qui-Gon responding,
"Your thoughts may betray you, but only if you let them. Ultimately, you must do what you think is right."
Qui-Gon's spirit dissipates as the sun continues to lower over the horizon, the orange glow weakening. Anakin, albeit still having many questions, now knows what he must do. He rushes out of the Jedi High Council chamber and heads to the Chancellor's office. Anakin finally reaches the Senate building. Now, under the darkness of night, he rushes into the Sith Lord's office and sees Mace Windu standing over Palpatine on the edge of the smashed window. Anakin, walking past the bodies of the fallen Jedi task force, approaches the two. The monologue between Mace Windu and Palpatine plays out like in the film, with Mace telling Anakin not to listen to Palpatine, and so on, all whilst Palpatine is striking Force lightning relentlessly at Windu, until we get to the point where Palpatine is lost, and Windu exclaims that he's going to end it once and for all, and that Palpatine is too dangerous for the courts. Palpatine saying he is too weak, and continuing to try manipulate Anakin into helping him, but instead Anakin does not. He instead says, in a disappointed and authoritative voice, "You have betrayed the Jedi Council, the Senate, the Republic, and me." Palpatine, realizing Anakin is not going to aid him, unleashes his final bit of energy, one hand pointed at each Jedi, striking lightning towards them. Anakin quickly draws his lightsaber and holds up the incoming Force lightning. Windu, doing the same as before, however, is struggling profusely due to his fatigue, standing his ground and trying to deflect the Force lightning with his lightsaber. Anakin, still deflecting the immense power of the lightning, strides, step after step, closer and closer towards the Sith Lord. He begins to close the gap, pushing closer and closer towards the window, using all his power, and manages to move forward despite the immense resistance and power being encountered from the Force lightning trying to push him back. Anakin looks over at Windu, realizing that he is beginning to struggle to hold off the Force lightning and is becoming more and more tired. The blue glow of Force lightning intensifies after each step Anakin takes towards Palpatine. Mace Windu, still standing, using all the energy he has left to deflect the Force lightning, Palpatine looks up at Anakin, who is now finally within reaching distance of Palpatine, and stops the Force lightning, drained of his energy with little life left. Windu falls down onto one knee in exhaustion, extremely tired from all the fighting, and looks up towards Anakin, giving him a slight nod. Anakin still has a lot of thoughts and feelings going through his head, however, he knows what he must do. He raises his lightsaber and slashes down towards Palpatine. However, Palpatine, with almost no life in him, rolls off the window edge into the abyss of Coruscant. Mace gathers himself and stands back up off of his knee and back onto 2 feet and holsters his lightsaber. Anakin too uneasily holsters his lightsaber, not knowing that Palpatine had not just yet met his demise. Instead, he had fallen safely, but not without injury, into a speeder that was being piloted by no other than Maz Amedda, Palpatine's trusty vice chair, who had been waiting for him in the speeder outside a lower level of the building, being contacted by Palpatine only moments before to wait for him below. "Where to, Lord Sidious?" Maz Amedda asks, Palpatine replying, "Things have not gone as I foresaw. We must head to the outskirts of Coruscant. From there I will proceed with my contingencies." "As you wish, my lord. And what about Skywalker?" Maz Amedda asked. "The boy is foolish enough to stand with the Jedi, so he will die with the Jedi. He may be powerful, but not powerful enough. Not under the cowardly Jedi." As the speeder descends and rejoins the Coruscant traffic lane, Palpatine reaches into the speeder's compartment and reveals an image caster. He activates the small holoprojector, leaving a blue glow against the now hooded figure, and in a powerful and enraged voice states the words, "Execute Order 66, as they disappear into the crowds of speeders throughout the vibrant, bustling traffic lanes. Mace and Anakin stand in silence for a minute, with nothing but the sound of the violent wind blowing past the smashed window, until suddenly, Windu and Anakin feel something. They can feel nothing but death, nothing but darkness, instantly followed by receiving a transmission from Yoda. Windu takes out his image caster, as Anakin walks over to him, glass crunching underneath his feet as he walks. The 2 Jedi, now standing beside each other, answer the incoming transmission. Yoda tells the 2 about what he has felt within the Force, as have they, and tells them about the betrayal of the clones. Windu then informs Yoda about them defeating Palpatine.
Defeated Palpatine may be, yet somehow a darkness within the Force, stronger and more dangerous than ever, I feel,"
Yoda says in a concerned voice, continuing by telling the Jedi of what they need to do.
"Regroup at the temple, we must. Send an emergency message to the remaining Jedi, you will, and inform them that return to the Jedi Temple they must. However, worry how many will return. I do. Return to the temple, I will, but first, something I must do, there is. May the Force be with you."
"And also with you," Mace Windu replies. The transmission ends, and the 2 begin to think, Anakin pacing back and forth across the room. "How could this have happened?" he says, in an enraged voice. "We defeated the Lord of..." Windu looks up at Anakin, Anakin looking back. Anakin runs out of the Chancellor's chambers. Windu shouts, "Anakin, wait." Anakin runs down the stairs and corridors of the Senate building, Windu chasing after him, until he finally reaches the street level. He walks outside into the crowded street, rushing past the oncoming pedestrians, bumping into people, trying to make his way into the middle of the street, only to find the body of the Sith Lord is not there. He looks back at Windu, who has now just caught up to him, and is standing a bit behind him, as Anakin says, "We never defeated him." They both stand in the middle of the crowded street, and a mix of disbelief, anger, and worry as civilians and residents brushed by them. However, time was vital, and they couldn't stand there dwelling on the situation. We have to get to the temple now and send the emergency transmission to alert the other Jedi before it's too late. Mace says. Anakin, still speechless, hesitates for a second before replying in a somber tone. Yes, Master. They both rush to the airspeeder, Anakin speeding through the illuminated streets of Coruscant until they approach the temple. The two approach the temple, being greeted by several alert temple guards and Sindralig, the chief of security for the temple. They briefly explain what had happened and what had been felt within the Force as they rushed through the temple to the central security room. The large halls and corridors of the building were filled with a very cold, lonely, heavy atmosphere as confused Jedi lined the corridors. Once in the central security room, Mace Windu activates the Jedi Beacon, a device that's purpose is to contact all Jedi throughout the galaxy and transmitted a holographic message saying into the holoprojector. This is Master Windu. I regret to report that the Dark Lord of the Sith has deceived us all, finally revealing himself to execute one final strike against the Order and the Republic, one more cunning and greater than we could have ever predicted. Our Jedi Order is at threat of extinction. This message is a warning and a reminder for any surviving Jedi. Trust in the Force. Any remaining Jedi must return to the temple. The future is uncertain, however one thing is known. You must avoid detection at all costs on your travels to the temple. Be secret, but be strong. We will each be challenged, our trust, our faith, our friendships. But at the temple we must stand, together. May the Force be with you, always. Turning away, in troubled thought, Mace and Anakin gathered with Sindralig, Shakti, Jocasta Nu, and the few other Jedi Masters present at the temple. They knew time was running out, and although they disrupted the Sith Lord's plans by injuring him, it would not be long before the clones were ordered to commence an assault on the temple. Sindralig, Chief of Security, and Jocasta Nu, Chief Librarian of the Jedi Archives, were allocated the task of preparing the temple, if such a thing was possible. They began giving orders, fortifying the temple, preparing defensive preparations, assigning Jedi to positions, preparing escorts for evacuations of younglings. The temple, like this for the first time ever, Jedi running through the corridors, groups of younglings being directed through the temple by knights, temple guards in line formations being briefed on the mission, preparing to lay down their lives for their temple and their order. Hundreds of Jedi and temple guards stationed around the building, everyone preparing for a battle, one they knew many would not walk away from. They knew this was a battle they wouldn't win. They had to expose the Sith Lord and regain the Republic Army support, stopping the clones killing any more Jedi. We have to inform the Senate about this, Mace states. We won't be able to get to the Senate building. The Senate district will have squadrons of clones patrolling it, says Shakti. I agree. We need someone else we can trust to go and appeal to the Senate. Mace replies, well, if you haven't noticed, we aren't very popular at the moment. Anakin remarks. What about Senator Amidala and Bail Organa? Asks Windu. It's too dangerous. Do we have any idea where Palpatine is? What if he's with the Senate? Anakin swiftly replies. We don't know where he is, but we know he hasn't appeared before the Senate yet. We injured him and have slowed him down. Skywalker, go to the communication center and contact Senator Amidala and Senator Organa. We will be there in a minute. We must first check on the preparation of the temple, Windu says. Anakin goes to the communication center and contacts Padme. He tells her what's happened and makes sure she is okay. After talking for a couple of minutes, he also contacts Senator Organa on the holoprojector, again explaining the situation. Shakti and Mace Windu enter the room and the group discuss what they are going to do. During their discussion, Anakin receives a transmission from Ahsoka Tano. He requests to be excused for a moment and rushes off to the side of the room, giving a sigh of relief after finding out his former Padawan was safe. She informs him about her escape of the Republic attack cruiser with Rex and told them about their discovery of the chip implants within the clones. He rushes back over to the group at the holotable and says, I think there's something you should all hear, bringing the holoprojector into the attention of all members. Ahsoka Tano, Mace Windu says. Master Windu, she replies. Ahsoka then relays their concerning discoveries to the group and informs them that she too is heading back to the temple with Rex. They then warn Ahsoka to be cautious on her return to the temple, and the transmission is ended. After some additional research and deliberation, the group discover the contingency orders of the Republic and formulate a plan. Padme Amidala would call an emergency meeting with the Senate and go to the Senate building to get the Senate to enact Order 65. For those who don't know, Order 65 was one of the contingency orders that states, in the event of either 1, a majority in the Senate declaring the Supreme Chancellor to be unfit to issue orders, or 2, the Security Council declaring him or her to be unfit to issue orders, commanders shall be authorised to detain the Supreme Chancellor with lethal force if necessary, and command of the Grand Army of the Republic shall fall to the acting Chancellor until a successor is appointed or alternative authority is identified. However, they knew that Padme alone would not be able to convince the Senate of their claims. Therefore, Anakin and Bail Organa would go to the Chancellor's office in the Senate Executive Building and get the security footage of the Chancellor's office, showing him revealing himself as the Sith Lord and dueling the Jedi. With no time to waste, Anakin and Senator Organa set off to the Senate Executive Building whilst Padme headed to the Senate Building. Meanwhile, Yoda approaches Dagobah, a swamp-covered world rich in the Force. He lands on Dagobah and heads to the place he had once before met Qui-Gon Jinn. As he walks through the dense foliage and fog of the swamp, suddenly he hears a voice, "Master Yoda," and stops for a second before calmly pivoting his body around to look at the Force ghost.
Qui-Gon came looking for you, I have.
I spoke to Anakin, a fine Jedi he has become. Master Yoda, an evil force within the galaxy is trying to surface. However, I have hope and it may not succeed. But one thing I do know is that it cannot be pushed back into the darkness. It must be destroyed. Only then can there truly be balance within the Force. Master Yoda listens to Qui-Gon, and their conversation continues, the wisdom and knowledge of generations being conversed. Back on Coruscant, Padme is in the Senate building in front of a small group of senators trying to convince them of the crimes of Palpatine and the scheme to eradicate the Jedi Order. Each senator very disturbed by the accusations. However, due to the scale of the claims, very few were convinced. She revealed the Republic contingencies and proposed the enactment of Order 65, which would in turn override Order 66 and instead target the Chancellor. Padme knew she must not only bring forward the small amount of evidence they had at the moment, but more importantly, stall long enough for Bail Organa and Anakin to recover the security footage as indefinite proof. A cloaked Anakin Skywalker helped Senator Organa get to the Chancellor's office. With the combined skills of both, avoiding patrols and utilising the force powers of Anakin, they managed to get through to the office undetected. They go to the Chancellor's desk and onto the main console, where they access the security footage and transfer the data onto a data card. As they remove the data card, a squadron of clones enter the office and begin firing upon the two. Anakin draws his lightsaber and deflects the laser bolts back into the soldiers he used to fight beside. "Come on, we have to go, now," Anakin shouts. The two run through the corridors, Bail with his blaster drawn, Anakin deflecting laser bolts, cutting through the clones and Senate guards. Back at the temple, Windu and Shakti stand above the main staircase, alongside hundreds of Jedi and temple guards. In the distance, a legion of 5 foot soldiers appear from the night. The vibrant light of the district illuminate their helmets, as line after line of troops begin marching towards the temple, their synchronized steps being felt through the ground. "Come on, Skywalker," Windu mutters to himself. Anakin and Bail Organa continue to make their way through the corridors of the Senate Executive Building, Anakin leading the way, slashing through the squadrons of clone troopers until they finally reach their airspeeder outside the building. They both jump in the airspeeder, Anakin still deflecting the laser bolts of the approaching clones, and speed away into the streets of Coruscant. They land at one of the platforms and make their way through the staircases and corridors of the large dome-shaped building. They evade the several clone patrols and head to the Grand Convocation Chamber, the large room where the emergency meeting is being held. They run into the Senate pod, where Padme is presenting their case to the senators, as Bail Organa exclaims, "We have proof!" The room erupts in shouting as the main speaker tries to quieten the room and says, Proof of Senator Amidala's claims, proof that Chancellor Palpatine is a traitor to the Republic and the Sith Lord, hiding in the shadows all this time, working with the Separatists. He has deceived us all, Bail Organa responds. The group present the security footage of Palpatine revealing himself and killing the Jedi task force to the senators. The room erupts in shouting for a second time as the shocked and confused senators try to make sense of the footage. Some shouting out in anger for the Chancellor's betrayal, others in disbelief trying to question the three about the footage. The main speaker once again manages to quieten the room, and after some deliberation with Senator Amidala and Senator Organa, the Senate decides to enact Order 65, overriding Order 66. The main speaker announces, with his voice echoing through the chamber, with the majority of the Senate declaring the supreme chance to issue commanded to now authorize the supreme chance with lethal force if necessary, commanded the galactic army of the Republic shall fall to the acting chance all successors as alternative is identified. The Senate meeting is concluded and the senators are instructed to return to their residences. Anakin takes Padme to a side room to ensure she is okay after the recent events before getting Bail Organa to take her back to the Senate apartment complex. However, it was not over yet. Palpatine was still out there, somewhere, doing what he did best, what he'd been doing for his entire life, planning in the shadows. Anakin gets back in the airspeeder and returns to the Jedi Temple, flying through the streets of Coruscant, with an orange glow flowing over the towering buildings as the sun rises over the horizon. Anakin reaches the temple, with the 501st Legion that were only moments ago marching towards the temple to partake in a brutal battle, now garrisoned outside the temple, waiting for orders from the Jedi generals. Most of the surviving Jedi that were off-world have now returned, including Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka Tano with Captain Rex, and several others. Anakin enters the temple, the main staircase still lined with Jedi and temple guards. He approaches the main group at the entrance, consisting of Obi-Wan, Mace Windu, Ahsoka Tano, Captain Rex, and Shaak Ti. "Good to see you, Master, and you too, Snips," Anakin says as the group turn their attention to him. A big grin appears on their faces as they greet Anakin, one after another. "Good to see you too, Anakin," Obi-Wan says. "I didn't count you as a political one, Anakin," Ahsoka says, with Rex also greeting Anakin. "Glad you made it back in one piece, General." The group converse for a moment, each explaining what they knew and what they had encountered with the recent events. Obi-Wan asks, "What do we know about Palpatine's location?" Mace Windu replying, "Coruscant has been locked down since Order 66 was enacted, to ensure no Jedi could escape Coruscant. The only ships that were given access to exit were Republic frigates, each with their own clearance code. No civilian vessels or personal shuttles could leave." "Meaning he must still be on Coruscant," Ahsoka said. "Correct. He was also injured. He would not risk trying to escape." Mace Windu replies, "We need to find him, even if it means checking every corner of Coruscant." Anakin exclaims, "Then that is what we will do, Skywalker." The Jedi dispatch the Coruscant Guard with the task to find Palpatine, a clone presence throughout Coruscant on a scale like never before. The clones filled the streets, going from door to door, patrols forcing their way through Coruscant's underworld. Republic gunships flew through the sky, beaming lights over the city's alleyways, searching for the Sith Lord and his associate, Maz Amedda. This search went on for several hours, with the Jedi waiting anxiously in the communication center at the temple. The group received a transmission from Commander Fox, a commanding officer of the Coruscant Guard. "Sir, we have not yet located Palpatine. My troops are still searching through the streets of Coruscant, but no leads yet. One of our gunships detected a power surge in the Works Industrial District near the old abandoned Lamerge power factories as they were heading back to base, but we suspect it is just an old faulty wire or piece of broken machinery. Nothing worth investigating." Anakin went into a moment of concentration as Mace Windu conversed with the commander over the hologram. As the two speak, Anakin mutters, "That wasn't a faulty wire or a piece of broken machinery. That was Palpatine." Windu asking, "What do you mean? How do you know?" Anakin replying, "I can sense it. The darkness, so close to the temple." Now for those who don't know, the Lamerge building was Palpatine's secret hideout located in the Works Industrial District on Coruscant, near the Senate District and the crash site of the Separatist flagship, the Invisible Hand, and is where Palpatine meets Count Dooku in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Rex,
The clones.
get the 501st ready.
Anakin says, "Yes, General." He replies. Windu interrupts saying, "Skywalker, I'm not sure it's wise to dedicate all our resources to a bad feeling." Anakin replying, not just to Windu, but to the whole group, "I need you to trust me. I need you all with me if we are going to take down Palpatine, once and for all." It was decided. An assault on the Lamerge building would commence at nightfall. Captain Rex prepares the 501st Legion as a small task force of Jedi assemble. This task force consisted of some of the most powerful and skilled Jedi, including Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, Mace Windu, Shaq T, Sindralig, and Ahsoka Tano. The plan was for this small task force to enter the building with a 501st Company consisting of roughly 140 clones being led by Captain Rex, whilst the rest of the Legion surrounded the building and cleared the structures in the immediate proximity. As the sun set over the horizon, in the cover of night, the task force set out to the industrial district, with the Legion following closely behind. The sky now filled with Republic gunships, everyone entering into the unknown, questioning whether these gunships would be returning empty. The gunships land outside the abandoned superstructure. The top 2/3 of the building consisted of a large pillar with a rounded summit, and the giant structure of the lower portion was supported by massive fins, reinforcing a circular base. The task force entered the building and began progressing through the corridors, slowly making their way up the building, the Jedi illuminating the dark corridors with the glow of their lightsabers, whilst Rex signals his troops to activate the small flashlights on their helmets. The group eventually make their way up to the top floor of the large building. They cautiously walk down the corridor into a large room. At the end of the room is a desk with a chair, turned away from the group, instead facing a large window, looking out over the wastelands of the crash site and abandoned buildings of the Works Industrial District. The room filled with rows of clone troopers stood side by side behind the Jedi with their blasters pointed towards the chair. "Palpatine, you are surrounded. Surrender now or we will open fire," Windu shouted. The chair slowly turned around, revealing a cloaked figure. "Did you not learn from your first attempt, Master Windu? I am not so easily apprehended." Palpatine slowly stands up, but without hesitation. Windu, knowing the extent of the threat, has no remorse and signals the clones to open fire. A synchronized step can be heard as the clones change their stance to fire. Rex nods his head and the clones begin to open fire upon Palpatine, but all of a sudden the room is filled with a blue glow. Palpatine's hands raised, now directing blue streams of lightning at the group. The lightning travels from one clone to another, clones falling to the floor one by one. Each of the Jedi struggling to deflect the lightning with their lightsabers. Anakin looks over to see Rex with electricity pulsing through his armour, and briefly removes one hand from his lightsaber and manages to push him away, using the Force to the side of the room and out of the stream of lightning. Ahsoka, also trying to deflect the lightning and hold her stance, glimpses over at the corner of the room and sees the blue glow outlining several figures. Palpatine stops and calmly lowers his hands, the room now filled with lifeless bodies, the smell of singed armour circulating the room. Fragments of glass scattered behind Palpatine from the now broken window, shattered by the few laser bolts that the clones managed to fire. Palpatine walks a few steps forward, reaches for his lightsaber and ignites it. Suddenly, 4 more red lightsabers ignite, 2 in either corner of the room. The red glow from the lightsabers illuminates their faces as the mysterious figures walk out from the shadows. They finally come into the light of the window, 4 individuals, all very different in shape, size, stature, and appearance. But they all had one thing in common, their dark body armour. You see, what I didn't mention earlier about the Lamerge building was it was also the building that later became the Inquisitor's headquarters and the home of the Inquisitor's program for a short amount of time after the fall of the Republic. The Jedi did not yet know of the Inquisitors. but they're about to get a very unpleasant lesson about them. Either side of the room stood the Grand Inquisitor, the 10th brother, the 6th brother, and the 9th sister.
Inquisitors, deal with these traitors. Do not disappoint me.
Palpatine says violently. The 4 Inquisitors charge towards the Jedi, each with varying combat styles, attacking with different flurries and stances. However, the one thing all their fighting styles possessed was aggression. As the other Jedi fought the Inquisitors, Anakin ran towards Palpatine and the two engaged in a duel, Anakin dealing powerful blows, one after another. Anakin and Palpatine continue to duel as Palpatine slowly moves backwards and the fight leads them into a side room, slightly smaller than the previous one, this one with a similar window. They make their way over to the window. Anakin, swinging back and forth with powerful strikes, hits the window, smashing it. Palpatine keeps blocking Anakin's erratic, chaotic swings in an elegant and swift flurry, but appears to be tiring from the relentless strikes of Anakin, until in quick succession, as Anakin lunges towards him, Palpatine holsters his lightsaber and reverts to false lightning, channeling all his power towards Anakin. Anakin blocks the lightning with his lightsaber, struggling to hold off the incoming power. Back in the main room, the Jedi are fighting the Inquisitors, however, are struggling to counter the relentless aggression of the converted Force wielders. Ahsoka, now fighting the 9th sister, is knocked down by one of the sister's strikes, and her lightsabers are flung across the room. Anakin looks behind him and through the room to see all his closest friends struggling and in danger. His master like a brother, his former Padawan like a sister, the captain a best friend. He is given a new drive. He knows what is at stake. He looks back at Palpatine, Anakin staring him straight in the eyes with a newfound determination. Palpatine saw that determination too, within Anakin's eyes, and unleashed his final bit of power, more than ever before, channeling the darkest parts of the Force into this stream of lightning. This immense power short-circuits Anakin's lightsaber. The blue blade flickers before reducing to the hilt. The hilt sparks and Anakin throws it to the ground, slowly walking back, now defenseless, against the Sith Lord. Palpatine lowers his hands, ending the channel of lightning, and grabs his lightsaber once again from his belt, igniting the crimson blade. Anakin continues to walk back until he reaches the edge of the window. Palpatine walks slowly towards him, with nowhere for Anakin to go, Palpatine saying,
You should have joined me, and by my side you could have unlocked your true potential. But instead you chose to stay with your foolish Jedi Order, and now you shall die with your precious Jedi Order.
Palpatine lunges towards Anakin, stabbing the blade towards him in a finishing blow. Anakin puts his hands out as a reaction to defend himself, squinting his eyes until suddenly his palms begin to absorb the energy of the blade. Palpatine and Anakin alike shocked at the feat being displayed, a skill only ever seen used by few throughout recent times. Anakin absorbs the energy with his palms using the manipulation of energy often referred to as Tutaminis. Anakin continues to absorb the concentrated energy of the blade for several seconds, with increasing difficulty before in one swift movement, taking one of his hands away from the blade, using the Force to grab one of Ahsoka's now lost lightsabers and igniting it, slashing Palpatine's torso. Palpatine's blade retracts and his body falls to the floor. Anakin collapsing to the floor in exhaustion, laying there, looking out the window into Coruscant. It was over. He had defeated Palpatine, once and for all. In the other room, the Jedi are still fending off the Inquisitors, but are becoming fatigued. Ahsoka on the floor, with the 9th sister standing above her. The Inquisitor slashes down towards Ahsoka, until suddenly, all the red blades in the room jolt still. From the main door, a small green hooded figure appears, accompanied by a squad of 501st clones behind him.
Late, I see I am.
Yoda concentrating, with his hands raised, holding their lightsabers still, one only centimeters away from Ahsoka, flings the Inquisitor's blades away from them using the Force. The Jedi apprehend the Inquisitors and are taken away by the clones. Captain Rex runs over to Anakin in the side room, checking he's okay. Anakin slowly gets up, slightly disorientated as the captain tells him he is needed. Anakin first questions what could be so urgent after what had just happened, then he realises Padme was due to give birth. He rushes down the building to the ground floor and boards the nearest gunship. Anakin and Padme would have 2 children named Luke Skywalker and Leia Skywalker, with Anakin being granted the rank of Jedi Master. Balance finally restored to the Force and peace within the galaxy.
Show me the one whose safety deems such destruction. This is the way.